Welcome, please hit the subscribe button. Picture this. You're out on what seems like a fancy date, everything's going well, until the bill arrives and suddenly your date becomes a completely different person. Welcome back, please hit the subscription button if you enjoy watching our content. What happened next at this upscale restaurant will leave you speechless. This woman thought she could walk into a high-end establishment, rack up a massive $500 tab, and just stroll out without paying a dime. But when reality hit and the police showed up, her entitled attitude reached levels that honestly shocked everyone involved. The drama started when this couple finished their expensive dinner and she simply decided she wasn't going to pay. Not because the food was bad, not because of poor service, but apparently just because she felt like it. When the restaurant staff confronted them about the unpaid bill, she became increasingly hostile and disrespectful. The police arrived to find a woman who genuinely seemed to believe the rules didn't apply to her. The officer tried explaining the situation calmly, telling her that walking out on a $500 tab could result in arrest. But instead of taking responsibility, she treated the entire situation like it was some kind of joke. Here's where it gets really wild. She showed up to this expensive restaurant with no wallet, no working credit cards, and apparently no plan to actually pay for anything. When questioned about how she planned to cover the bill, her response was essentially that someone else would figure it out. The man she was with ended up paying the entire $500 dinner just to end the embarrassment. You'd think that would be the end of it, but somehow even $20 for parking turned into another dramatic scene. She claimed all her cards were blocked and she needed to wait for a friend to come bail her out. The officers were understandably confused. How do you show up to an expensive date with absolutely no way to pay, then act like the entire world should pause and wait for your convenience? The entitlement was absolutely staggering. But the real kicker came when she finally got her parking money sorted out. The police told her she'd been drinking and shouldn't drive.
Simple 9 advice. Right?
She could have just gotten a ride with her friend and left her car there. Instead, she decided to ignore the officers completely. What happened next was the moment everything fell apart. She got in her car and started to drive away, but someone tried to stop her by grabbing the door handle. She kept driving with their hand caught in the door, creating a dangerous situation that could have seriously injured someone. The irony was incredible. She was yelling for someone to call the police while the police were standing right there watching her break the law. That's the kind of moment that perfectly captures just how disconnected from reality she'd become. Her excuse for driving after being told not to was mind-boggling. She claimed that since she had her keys, she thought it was okay to drive. The logic was completely backwards. Having keys to your own property doesn't override being told you're too intoxicated to operate a vehicle safely. Even after being arrested, she continued to act like she was the victim in this situation. She started talking about calling her lawyer and claiming she was being unlawfully arrested, as if the multiple witnesses and police body cameras weren't documenting her every move. The comments on this incident were brutal but honest. People felt genuinely bad for the guy who ended up paying $500 only to watch his date get arrested. Many viewers pointed out that this is exactly why first dates should be kept simple and inexpensive until you know someone's character. This whole situation perfectly illustrates what happens when someone expects princess treatment but refuses to take any responsibility for their actions. She thought she could just walk out of an expensive restaurant without consequences, but real life doesn't work that way. The restaurant staff and police officers handled this situation with remarkable professionalism. They could have escalated things much earlier, but they gave her multiple chances to do the right thing. Unfortunately, she chose chaos at every single opportunity. What makes this even more frustrating is thinking about all the hard-working people in that restaurant. The servers, cooks, and management who put effort into providing a good dining experience, only to deal with someone who thought their time and service had no value. This incident serves as a perfect reminder that actions have consequences, regardless of how entitled someone feels. You can't just ignore social norms and legal requirements because you don't feel like following them. Reality has a way of catching up with everyone eventually. The guy in this situation learned an expensive lesson about reading people's character before investing in fancy dates. $500 is a lot to spend on discovering someone's true personality, but at least he found out before getting more involved. For anyone watching this thinking it might be funny to try something similar, remember that restaurant security cameras and won't hesitate to involve law enforcement. Walking out on a bill isn't a harmless prank, it's theft, and it can result in real legal consequences that follow you for years.